Historically, the states of Kansas and Missouri are not the best of neighbors. Beginning in the 1850s with the Bleeding Kansas conflict that was a precursor to the American Civil War, violence and armed warfare were at the heart of the border conflict between the two. Today, that conflict is reflected in the border war between the two states' namesake universities, the University of Kansas and the University of Missouri. The basketball version of this bitter rivalry began in 1907 and continued for 105 years before conference affiliation split up the matchup. But it will soon be back, and we'll highlight some of the best moments in the border war between Kansas and Missouri on this edition of Stadium Rivals. Dr. James Naismith, the inventor of the game of basketball, was hired at Kansas in 1898, 6 years after drafting the official rules of the game. By 1906, the school had actual opponents instead of playing YMCA games. Missouri took on Kansas twice in the 1906-07 season, winning 34-31 in the first game and 32-12 the following day. That left Missouri with an all-time record of 2-0 against the inventor of hoops. Ironically, Naismith is the only head coach of Kansas to end his tenure with a losing record. And by 1951, another legendary coach, Phog Allen, was at the helm for a controversial game. In the finals of the Big Seven Holiday Tournament, Clyde Levelette stomped on the stomach of Missouri's Win Wilfong. Levelette was ejected and Allen was incensed. After Missouri's coach, Wilbur Stallcup, calmed outraged Tiger fans, Kansas would go on to win 75-65 to win the tournament. In March of 1952, Allen's Jayhawks would win the NCAA tournament title. The 52 champs were in attendance at Allen Fieldhouse for a 20th reunion during the Border War matchup in 1972. And they witnessed history. Isaac "Bud" Stallworth went off for 50 points in KU's 93-80 win. Stallworth's outing trailed only the great Wilt Chamberlain's 52 points against Northwestern in 1956 for most in school history. It's still the most points scored by a Kansas Jayhawk in a conference game. The teams met 3 times in the 1986-87 season, the highlight coming in the Big 8 tournament title game. This one wasn't without controversy either, as KU's Danny Manning elbowed MU's Derek Chivas in the eye. It didn't faze Chivas, who was still MU's all-time leading scorer, as the Tigers won the tournament championship 67-65. Danny Manning, Larry Brown, a legendary player and a legendary coach, led the Kansas Jayhawks to the national championship in the 1987-88 season. Along the way to that title, Kansas took down Missouri twice, 78-74 in the first matchup and 82-77 in the second. Allen Fieldhouse would be the site for the first number 1 versus number 2 matchup in the rivalry, number 1 KU versus number 2 Mizzou. Sporting an 8-1 conference record, Norm Stewart's Tigers behind Anthony Peeler won 77-71. An unblemished 14-0 Big 8 conference record and a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament were the highlights of the Tigers' 93-94 campaign. Along the way, they would have to deal with their rivals. Trailing most of the game against KU, Missouri's Melvin Booker came alive. Booker scored 32 points, 17 in the final 8.5 minutes to secure the Tigers' 81-74 win. With Roy Williams at the helm of number 1 Kansas, his 1996-97 team, featuring Paul Pierce, Rafe LaFrance, and Jacques Vaughn, came into the border war at 22-0. The game would eventually require 2 overtimes when little-known MU player Corey Tate hit a 16-foot jumper with 5.6 seconds left to lift the Tigers to a 96-94 upset win. David Padgett's one-season run at KU ended in dramatic fashion. In fact, this game was the final rivalry game at Missouri's Hearn Center. Padgett hit a baseline jumper in the final seconds to help the Jayhawks down the rivals at Mizzou's old barn, 84-82. The last time Missouri took on Kansas in basketball was in the 2011-2012 season. In the first game, the Tigers stormed back, scoring the final 11 points of the game. Marcus Denman tallied 29 in Mizzou's 74-71 win. In the second matchup, and last of the rivalry as of 2019, it would take overtime to find a victor. Thomas Robinson scored 28 points and grabbed 12 boards, securing Kansas's win with a huge block on Phil Pressey's driving layup. Missouri led by as many as 19 points in the game, but KU pulled out a come-from-behind 87-86 OT victory. As conference realignment took hold, the Tigers left for the SEC at the end of the year. But this would not be the end of the Border War. Missouri and Kansas have agreed to renew the Border War for a 6-game series starting in 2020. Before the game takes place on December 12th, 3,213 days will have passed since the last time these two schools met in the regular season. A 172-96 edge for Kansas in the rivalry will look to be closed a bit by Mizzou. So get ready for the return of the Border War, one of the best matchups in college basketball and perfect for stadium rivals.